You're with Julian on the Brown Note and how to not make any friends at all. Let Kevin Spacey come back. Give him a chance. He's been announced as partaking in a film with legendary Italian actor Franco Nero, who played Django, and in Django Unchained as well. Well, not the Jamie Foxx character, but he was at the bar. The film is called... It's a low-budget indie film, L'uomo che disegno Dio. And whether this is a deliberately formulated plan to come back to the centre of the world, here's my thoughts. He's accused of some pretty dodgy stuff. I don't know if pretty dodgy is enough. There has to be a scale here, and with the ever since the Me Too movement, there's been this blanket ban for anyone that's caught up in it. James Franco, he's been accused of next to nothing. He's been accused of legitimately hiring women who years later then said that they felt their contracts were exploitative. Welcome to Hollywood. They were students in film working with a world-famous actor, and years later, after the Me Too movement broke, apparently he's now persona non grata. All of it came out when he was in the running for an Oscar nomination for Best Actor for The Disaster Artist after winning at the Golden Globes, ironically cancelled themselves. And that's it. And I was really disappointed with Seth Rogen ditching his best mate like that. Stand by him. He's not even accused of doing anything. Apparently his contracts were, I don't know, not paying him enough money to be too sexual in the roles or something. How many actresses do you think that applies to? I wince watching films where the female lead gets naked from the 80s and 90s because it's so obvious. I'm just thinking there's some creepy producer like Weinstein behind the scenes that insisted on it in their contracts. And Franco's not really accused of that at all. He's not accused of virtually anything. There has to be a scale from one to Weinstein. Weinstein was a massive Hollywood mogul that destroyed women's careers systemically over and over again if they refused his sexual advances, or if he treated women terribly if they were not willing to be as sexual or as nude as he wanted in films. Awful. Accused of multiple rapes. That's not the case with James Franco. Louis C.K. shouldn't have been cancelled in the first place. When he was an ugly fat nobody, he got his willy out in a hotel room in front of two girls, and neither of them seems to have been scarred for life out of it. Pretty shady. He lost everything. His show was cancelled. He's just now coming back. And they both of them, like James Franco won't get a gig again. And Louis C.K., they both should be welcomed back. They've done enough hard time on this. Franco hasn't really done anything. Louis C.K. acted like an idiot, and that was about it. And he wasn't famous at the time. Kevin Spacey is accused of worse, but he's accused of being gropey. He's accused of groping people, sometimes underage, but when he was young. I think the worst one was that when he was 24, it was a 14-year-old, and no one knew who he was. But he's accused of improper advances and of being a bit touchy-feely. He's not accused of raping people. He's not accused of, doing the worst elements here. He's not accused of destroying anyone's career. He, I feel, has suffered enough. He had his world-famous show cancelled out from under him. He lost everything. He was edited out of a finished film, which actually let in one of the greatest performances in the modern era from Christopher Plummer. The one about the heir that got kidnapped. Amazing performance. I think he was, up until Hopkins, the oldest actor Oscar nomination for that role. So I do think that he probably did a better job than Spacey, but Spacey's one of the best actors that we've had. Now, this is the other reason I want to give him a break. His brother came forward and said that growing up, they were subject to an astonishing amount of abuse from a sadistic neo-Nazi, far-right, violent father who broke Kevin Spacey, and Kevin retreated into this shell which is obviously how he's so good at acting, because he has never let his own personality exist in the world. He shut down through a torrent and years of abuse at a sadistic Nazi dad. Now, that doesn't give you an excuse to abuse anyone, but I do have empathy that it might have made you a bit funny in the head. And given that he's accused of some, in the grand scheme of being very, very rich and powerful, destroying people's careers and actually raping people, I think that he comes somewhere below a 5 out of 10 on the scale of 10 out of 10 for Weinstein or some of these rap moguls that we've heard about, where the women have come forward and say that, they were pressured at work, they lost their jobs, they lost their careers, they were raped. All of this, he's not accused of any of it. So it is sleazy what he was doing, but I'm giving him some scope for being a deeply broken human being subject to incredible abuse as a child for years, and not have committed the most serious kinds of sex crimes. So why won't you let Kevin live? Give him a chance to come back. We did it with Mel, and he was a massive racist. These people are going to make mistakes, and I'm not making excuses for their mistakes, but I don't like this whole complete cancellation thing. I'm not saying that I am against cancel culture, because I hate that term so much, but I don't like the application of the same standards on Louis C.K. as Harvey Weinstein. When one person played with themselves in a hotel room, another raped loads of women allegedly and destroyed their careers. It's not the same thing. So Kevin is about a 4 out of 10, if that. Give him a break. This is The Strokes, another debut album in the list.